love is love. Love is
Mm.
stronger than hate. Love is so much stronger than hate. And uniqueness is beautiful. Like people are so cool. We're all so unique. We all have so many different talents. We all have so much magic to give to bring to this
That's
earth.
it. And you have to listen to your child and you have to let them be angry with you. You have to
Mm.
let them be hurt by you. You have to accept that this is reality. Whether you regret it or not, you've got to listen to it. You've got to take it in and
Mm.
accept it so that they can heal.
Hello, welcome to Openly Spoken. Today we have a very beautiful episode for you. This is a continuation of the stories that we've been sharing to celebrate Pride Month last month. This is an episode that kind of took a while to edit because of some unforeseen circumstances, as I have shared in a previous solo episode. Um, but also, like, we need to be celebrating the LGBTQIA plus community more than just in June. So that's also why I wanted to still share this episode, and I didn't push myself to have the episode out, even though my schedule was really tight unexpectedly in June. I thought, it's okay. Let's have it come out in July. So, anyways, this is a really beautiful episode because we're going to be talking about a mother-daughter relationship where coming out it wasn't really a welcomed experience and it wasn't a smooth process. And then a lot of healing took place. And now these two women that you're about to hear, Kayla and Cheryl, they are closer than ever. So, before we dive into today's episode, I'm just going to introduce you both to KaylaMae Smith and to Cheryl Miller. So, Kayla is a spiritually aligned virtual assistant and a podcast creative assistant. She's actually also someone that helps me with this podcast. So, it was really cool to get to sit down and chat with her. Kayla is also a mom by choice, for choice, and she is a bisexual woman who believes that we should all inspire and be inspired by one another. And Cheryl wants to introduce herself by letting you know that pink is her power color, that she is an artist, a gamer, a yogi, but her true talent is beating level 100 on Fortnite. And unconditional love is Cheryl's secret weapon. And you will definitely hear a little bit about that in this story. So, without further ado, let's hear this beautiful story about healing and repairing a mother daughter relationship after coming out. I love that. That's a really good one. Good for grounding. I'm recording already.
Perfect. We entered the time portal, baby, where time is
Yeah.
illusory, it doesn't exist.
Welcome to Openly Spoken, the podcast to help you show up, speak out, and be seen. Here you'll get to eavesdrop on connected women's conversations about self-love, confidence, healing, relationships, creativity, and more. I'm your host, Celia Antonio, and I am your guide to getting you grounded into your body, feeling your full spectrum of emotion, and expanding your fullest self-expression. I also pop in here from time to time with solo episodes where I give you tips, tricks, and resources like meditations, visualizations, and all the things to get you grounded, to get you to feel, to get you to alchemize, and to get you to expand and express yourself fully. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I invite you to now put your hands on your heart, take a deep breath, set a tone for how you want to be as you show up for this podcast, take what resonates in this podcast, leave out what doesn't resonate, and take some time to reflect and to contemplate. And if there's anything in the podcast you want to chat about, you can always reach out to me on Instagram at selfexpressedbabe. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get started. Oh, we're recording.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, Kayla and Cheryl. Cheryl, it's so nice to meet you. And I'm so excited to have both of you on here to share this beautiful story and how everything unfolded. And yeah, I'm just excited to share this with people. I think it'll be so beautiful and wonderful. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
thanks for having us. I'm excited and nervous, but thank you.
Yeah. So I will have like a pre-recorded little bio. Besides that, like I would love to give you space to kind of like introduce yourself to anyone that's listening.
Okay. I'm KaylaMae, and I am a virtual assistant for spiritually aligned entrepreneurs and a podcast assistant. I
For me.
love, yeah, yes, yes, I love working with you. Um, I am also a bisexual woman and a mother of a very fun 4-year-old, my wild child. And we're here today with my mama. So, y'all, this is Cheryl.
Hi,
Hi,
Cheryl.
I'll let her.
everybody. So I'm Cheryl, and I'm a secretary at a middle school. And I'm not really good at introducing myself. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I'm a mom, I'm a grandma 3 times over, and I love it. I love it. I love my children. I love my grandbabies. I love being a mom, and I love being a grandma. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Oh, yay. Well, I'm so happy to have you both here. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I know that there's like this whole story we want to share, and I'm not sure where to start. I'm not sure where to start. If like, I don't know if you've taken a moment to like sit and think about like where you want to dive into it, Kayla.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess, yes. So happy Pride Month, y'all. It's June. And so in honor of Pride Month, we're actually sharing um, my coming out story, but also more than that, my healing story and coming into confidence and healing along with my mother through our story. So I hope I'm going to share this story in hopes that you all know that it gets better and we're all worthy of being loved. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that being said, um, I guess I will just dive right in. I was um, I was about 14 when I came out or was outed to my mother. At that time, um, was brought up with a very particular religious upbringing, and uh, what I remember was I was called into her room, and she knelt down in front of me and cried and prayed because she believed at the time uh, that I was going to hell, or that that's what that meant. Um, at least
Mhm.
that's how I perceived it. This is my perception. And of course, she'll share her side, and she's done a lot of healing through this as well. So, but it was my perception. So for a long time, I lived with not a lot, a lack of confidence,
Mm.
a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-love. And um, my best friend for many years joked that I was in the closet with the door wide open. Like it wasn't
Mm.
a secret, but um, it wasn't, it was just, I was not comfortable being myself fully. Before I share more into our healing, did you want to share anything, Mom? Or should I just keep going?
I would like to say that it was rough for both of us when the kids were growing up. Um, I really didn't know how to be a mom, and
Mhm.
I was just kind of trying to figure things out. So I did a lot of things wrong, and did some things right too, you know. But we both needed to heal from that, and especially, in my opinion, especially Kayla, she really needed that healing, and she needed to know that I loved her no matter what. I loved her.
Mhm.
Um, and it was
You were
important
right.
for
I'm already
me
gonna cry.
that she knew that.
Ah!
Told ya.
I see you have a box of tissues next to you.
She told me to have a box of tissue.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh, and you have one too. I should have brought one. Yeah, I love that you're sharing this because there's like healing on both sides. And there's like for someone who's coming out, there's like hope that it'll get better. And for someone who is having a child that isn't I guess meeting up to expectations or something that they thought was the right way, like that's really hard too. And like seeing how there's like you can move through that. You can you can grow through that. You can open your mind and there's still love there to be had. And
Mm,
yeah. All
yeah.
right, then. So what's next?
Okay, I'm gonna add to what my mom said.
Okay.
One of the things that I've learned fairly recently is that it feels like sometimes we'll blame ourselves and we'll say, you know, I was doing all the wrong things or I didn't know how to be a mom, right? And that's super easy to come up because moms, we question ourselves all the time. As parents, you know, we do. But one of the things I've learned recently is that we're doing the best we can with what we have in the moment.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Yeah.
the learning comes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so just it's okay to forgive
And
ourselves.
it's never really too late for that learning to come,
Yeah.
as long as it comes.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
As long as it does come so that healing can take place. If it never comes, healing can't take place, or at least
Hmm.
it becomes much more difficult for healing to take place because you don't have that extra love and support.
Mm-hmm.
So years later, I don't know necessarily how the change happened, but as of now, my mother is my biggest supporter.
Mm-hmm.
She loves me so much. She's going to her first Pride this year, and
Ooh,
I'm
that's
super excited for
awesome.
her to go.
That's awesome.
Um,
Before we go into that, I'm actually curious. So you said you were 14. You were outed to your mom, so someone else outed you.
yes, I'm not sure who. I just know that she told me that she learned.
Okay. And then she was praying at your feet, thinking that you're going to go to hell. And then what like dynamic did that create? Like
Mm.
what happened between then and like now being her being like your
Mm.
best supporter? Because I know you're both close. You talk about your mom all the time. It's really
Yeah,
sweet.
she's our best friend. So for me on that, I was a very secretive teenager. I kept to myself. I had a lot of feelings of isolation. I felt very um, I felt alone a lot. Um, and at some point, um, it seemed to not it all it just wasn't an issue anymore um, for mom. And I still wasn't. I wasn't. I'm 32 now. I'll be 33 probably by the time this episode comes out. I have a birthday coming up.
Yeah.
Um, so and I didn't fully come out until my 30s.
Okay.
So you know, my like my friend said, in the closet with the door wide open, but I still kind of like shied away.
So like
And
your
I've heard a
mom
lot of
knew, your close friends knew, but you didn't like really share it with people.
yes,
Okay.
right.
She didn't
Yes,
celebrate it.
Okay.
I didn't. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, and so and then it got to the point where, you know, we could joke about I could joke about having crushes or being attracted to someone, and it wasn't an issue. Mom would smile and like laugh along, like, oh yeah, you know, and it became um, just a part of everything. Well, but I still struggled with the feelings of self-worth and confidence and being myself and feeling okay. Um, Eventually, in therapy, um, my therapist suggested writing letters to my inner child. And Um, I thought about that a lot. And it also came up to write letters to my inner child at different ages of my life, like regarding different circumstances. And I thought about it for a while, and it hit me that, I realized I wanted to ask my mom to write that letter. I wanted her to write a letter to 14-year-old me as if she was responding to me telling her, "Hey mom, I'm bi."
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little nervous because I thought, I don't want to hit her with all this guilt. I don't want to hit her with all the shame. Like, I'm hurting. And of course, I'm still worried about hurting her through this.
Yeah.
So I thought, I don't want to hit her with all this. And I really thought about it for a while, and then I just brought it up. "Hey mom, what do you think of this?" And she got really emotional. She's like, "I would love to do this for you." So she thought about it for a bit, and she texted me and she said, "Hey, can you tell me something?" In a text. And so I texted her, "Hey mom, I'm bisexual." And I put some like little gifs and memes in there too that were really cute. I don't remember what it was exactly, but I just remember sending her cutesy little text. And as if, I was coming out. We didn't have text when I was 14, but I still texted. And then she wrote me a letter to 14-year-old Kayla.
So you had like a redo over text.
A review, we started it over text and she did write it in a letter. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And having her read that letter to me and hearing it was so healing. And
But
it
I'm so sorry.
I
Excuse
just
me.
want to say on that, it's so important if you take the time to do that for yourself, or even if you ask someone else, writing to your inner child, writing to young you is just, it's a
yeah.
powerful healing modality for
Yeah.
sure.
And developing that relationship, like ongoing, lifelong relationship with your inner child is super important
Mm,
too.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
agree
that
with
part of us
that.
is still there with us. So, Kayla, you mentioned that there was time where it just eventually didn't become an issue. So I'm curious to hear from you, Cheryl, like what was that? Like what was going on in that time where it was like she came out and then it became not an issue years later? Like was that a gradual, like what was that shift there?
It,
What happened there?
it's kind of weird. I'm sorry. I've always known this, but it's like a difference between your heart and your mind. But Kayla is incredibly beautiful. And I mean, physically, emotionally, spiritually, she's a giver, she's a lover, she's kind, generous. She has such a beautiful personality and person. She really does. And it just didn't matter about all the other stuff. The only thing that mattered was that she was my daughter and she was hurting. And I was a big cause of that. And that had to change, that had to stop. And I think that was it. Once I realized that I'd been fed all these horrible things, that I could let them go. And it was okay to let them go and still be me. And yet at the same time, still be mom to Kayla, the kind of mom she needed, and not the kind of mom society kind of demands you to be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
you
sense.
have to be a strong parent and you have to, put your will forward. And no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
They have a will and they get to choose. And whatever they choose is beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love that. Yeah, you bring a big key piece there of like how society plays a part in this. Like society not only tells you what kind of mom you need to be, but also from Kayla's perspective, like society is telling you how your identity and how your sexuality is supposed to be. Quotation marks for people
Exactly.
listening to the audio. And then that's an added thing on top. Like if you're coming out and there's not that acceptance right away from your family, it's not only the family, it's also society putting that pressure on you and, going out into the world and sharing who you are. Luckily now it's a lot safer than it used to be, but it's like it's still not 100% safe. We're still not there, especially in specific parts of the world and
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
parts of our country. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's very sad
Yeah.
to me that people have an inability to just love people.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to like your family members or like your child. Like, yeah, I understand that there's, religious upbringings that make you think that certain things are bad. But at the end of the day, like you are this child's guide and you are this like you're the one that's their foundation. And if they don't get that foundation of love at home, why would they think they'd get that outside of the home?
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
but then the forgiveness piece is huge there. I'm sure
Yeah.
you had to, I'd love to know like what did that look like, that whole like self-forgiveness? Because like Kayla mentioned earlier, I'm not a mom yet, but I know like a lot of my friends have kids and I hear about mom guilt all the time, that it's a
It
real thing. And no
is.
matter how great you are, you still have that guilt. Yeah, so I'd love to know how that self-forgiveness like journey looked like and what helped you for anyone listening.
That was really hard, the forgiveness, to forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
It was very hard. It was very hard. I felt so much guilt and shame and horror at my actions and thoughts and words that it was so very difficult for me. And I found that I actually wasn't able to forgive myself until Kayla was. And once she was able to go through that healing and forgive me, then I felt a release to be able to forgive myself as well.
Yeah.
I had to know she was okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Kayla, what is it that helped you forgive?
Um, I really think that her accepting me asking her to write this letter to 14-year-old me, I really think that
Mm,
my inner child, my 14-year-old Kayla, needed that letter to be able to um, forgive and feel fully. I knew at that point that she loved me. I knew at that point she fully supported me, but I needed to hear it um, in that way. And that really, that really brought on the forgiveness. And mom told me too, she said that writing that letter helped her on her end as well. So it was healing for both of us.
yeah,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I love that. So for anyone listening, we recommend doing the letter. Having some sort of redo of the coming out and seeing how that lands for your inner child or inner teenager.
If you have to write the letter for yourself, if the other party isn't ready to
Yeah.
write the letter, if you can write the letter to yourself, what would you want to hear? What would you have wanted to hear? What would you have wanted to heard and
Mm-hmm.
feel? Go through all the senses. Celia's great with those practices, but go through all the senses. What
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
what would that be like? Um, if you can't go through and heal that inner child with the other person, definitely do it with yourself.
Yeah. And there's a piece there of like cultivating your own inner parent, which can be
Mm,
very, very, very helpful.
yes. Yes.
Yeah. And as a parent or family member or a friend or whoever, I highly recommend that you really sit down and think before you write, and you kind of know that what you want to show in this letter is not just, okay, yeah, I accept for who you are. I accept you. No problem. It has to be so much more than that. I feel like it has to exude love,
Yeah.
and it has to
Mm,
show that I don't care about your decisions. You're an adult. And even if you're not an adult, you still get to make your own decisions, your own choices. And as a parent, you really got to let that go and give that to the child,
Yeah.
regardless of age. And I just think it's also healing for them. Parents really should do it not just for themselves, but for their child.
Yeah. And I would imagine that even if it's hard for them to accept, even writing something of like, this is really hard for me right now, but I still love you. Like, even that could go a long way than just
mhm.
saying no to the letter, because putting in whatever effort you can, I'm sure is like that that willingness to put that effort shows that you care and that you're trying, and it's a process. It's a journey, and it'll unfold little by
Mhm.
little.
Communication heals better than walls.
Mm,
Oh, yes. That
yes,
was good.
that's a
Mhm.
good one. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
turn that into a little quote for this episode.
Oh,
So, do you want to share, Kayla, even like before you came out, like how you came to realize for yourself, like how you came out to yourself, maybe? Did you
mhm.
want to share that while you're here?
Sure. So I grew up with a very strict religious upbringing, like I said, and I had no idea what was outside of this box. Like I had no idea. I knew that I knew that people were pretty. I knew that people were handsome. I knew that people were just beautiful. And I knew that I'm going to say this on the show, but some of us may remember the Lizzie McGuire show. I had the biggest crush on Hillary Duff and the Lizzie McGuire show, but I didn't know that it was a crush because I had no idea at the time that that was even like a possibility. I just
Mm,
knew that I had the biggest crush on her.
yeah.
And I just loved watching that show, so I could watch her because she's so beautiful. Um, and then when I was 14, when I learned that people could be attracted to all genders.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, oh, this makes so much sense.
Do you remember
Um,
where you learned that?
on the school bus.
On the school bus. The school bus is a great place to learn wisdom as a kid. That's where we all learn. We learn where babies come from. We learn all the things on the school.
On the school bus. Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, okay, so you had this crush on Lizzie McGuire, which I love that you mentioned that, because we had Olivia on this podcast
Oh,
last
and
year
she
who
said the
shared
same
her
thing
story.
because I listened
Yeah.
to that episode and I got so I was
Yeah.
like, oh
She said she had like 30 posters of Hillary Duff like all over her walls. And she's like, there were
my gosh.
signs, Mom. Those were the signs. Um, and then when you were 14, there was that coming out. You redid the coming out with that text, and then like writing a letter to the inner child, or like Kayla at 14. And then how did things so this letter writing, did that happen like 2 or 3 years ago? Because you mentioned that you have only really been like out in your 30s, and you're about to turn 33. So that's recently, right?
Yes. It was, what was it, last year or the year before? Do you remember, Mom?
That's what I was looking at the letter to see if it had a date on it.
Oh, you have it with you. That's beautiful.
It was probably 2022,
Okay, so it was
so
recently.
last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So what do
Last
you
year.
think, like, I'm curious to know like how that has shifted things, and like how, like, what do you think that's opened up for you, and like where are you headed to next? For both of
Um,
you with like your healing, and I know like some of the things that Kayla you'd love to do with your work and who you'd like to serve.
mm, yes. So it's um it's been really, really lovely to be able to just be 100% fully myself, fully authentic. My husband loves me for who I am. Um, we've gone as a family to Pride. My husband and my son and I, we all went to Pride. And during Bi Visibility Week, I told him, "Hey, babe, it's Bi Visibility Week," and he's like, "Hey, babe, I see you," and um, it's I'll never forget that. Like it
Yeah.
matters so much.
Hmm.
And I've been able to really learn how to fully love myself, how to embrace everything, all I am. And so it's been a lot of fun. Um, Also, speaking of what I want to do, eventually I do want to work with LGBTQ plus youth because I
Hmm.
want I want the youth to know that it does get better, that they are worthy, that
Yeah.
love is stronger than hate. Love really is stronger than hate, and they are perfect as they are. And when people tell you who they are, we believe them
Yeah.
and love them
Mhm.
just
Yes.
for themselves.
Mhm.
So I would love to eventually get to work with the youth and just be that person I needed. We've all seen that quote, be the person you needed when you were younger.
Hmm.
That's so important to me. And with my son, with raising with my family, I want him to be encouraged in his fullest expression.
Hmm.
And my husband and I, we work on having those conversations and raising our son to be absolutely himself, whoever that is.
I love that.
Very healthy. I love it too.
Yeah. It must be
I know
great
for
to see
Kayla
that.
and
Oh, go ahead.
it is great to see that. It's great. I know as for Kayla and I, it really opened up so many more doors for us. We've just gotten so much closer, and we
Oh,
can talk. We know now that we can say anything at all to each other,
yeah, because
and
you've
it's
been
received
through
in
the.
love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
So we have that confidence now that we're going to be supported
Yeah.
and loved through whatever it is that we think, feel, or going through.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Made us super close. I love it.
Yes,
Oh,
that's my best friend, y'all.
I love
Yes,
that.
mine too.
Oh, I love
Besties.
that. Uh, yeah, that's great how like something so scary and hard can bring the relationship that you thought was like maybe from Kayla's side, you probably thought like, oh, my mom hates me. She's never gonna talk to me again. But it like brought you even closer than you were before. I love that. That's
Yes.
so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And that's how I felt.
Hmm. That's how
Mhm.
you felt as well. That
I
you
did. I
and
felt
Kayla would
like she
never.
hated me and that
Yeah.
we would never have a relationship,
Hmm.
you know. And she didn't hate me. She just was hurt. She was
Yeah.
very hurt.
When I first moved out, she didn't even come to my first apartment for a few years. Like she didn't even know where I lived,
Hmm.
I
you
was
know.
not allowed
So
to.
yeah, we've come a
It
long
was
way.
very hard.
Yeah. I'm happy for both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're
I'm happy
welcome.
too.
So I have some questions that I ask everybody, and I feel like they could lead to maybe more of the story will come out, maybe more conversation will come out. So I'm feeling called to share those questions now.
Okay.
Who would like to go first?
I'll let
Okay, I'll
Kayla go
go.
first.
Okay.
All right.
So the first question is, what does self-love mean to you?
Self-love to me is anything that is showing, expressing love to yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So we've all heard take bubble baths. If that bubble bath is going to be soothing, then that's self-love. But if you're thirsty and you need to drink a glass of water, that's self-love.
Mm.
Um, it can be so many different things.
Cheryl, what would you say? What does self-love mean to
Self-love
you?
to me is accepting who you are and loving
Mm,
yourself unconditionally, which I have always found is very hard for me to do. I have a very difficult time
Mm-hmm.
loving myself unconditionally and
Yeah.
accepting me um, as I am, flaws and all, you know,
Yeah.
and understand that some of those things that I think are flaws are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
It's a very healing, incredible, beautiful thing to go through when you do have that self love, or when you start getting it. It's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Especially how Kayla mentioned earlier that you came from a strict religious background. And
Yes,
typically that doesn't really go along with accepting yourself. It's usually you're a sinner, you're
correct.
mhm,
bad,
mhm.
and a lot of
Yes,
guilt and stuff. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Very
So
fear-based. Hmm.
so that
Hmm.
must have been hard to come up against that when you're trying to love yourself, but you have these old conditioned beliefs. It's oh, but I'm bad because of this. Yeah.
I also had a very rough childhood, and so that was also part of it too.
Yeah.
And I didn't want Kayla and Taylor to have that, but we are now at an age where we're all getting through it together as a
Yeah.
family. We used to call ourselves the Three Musketeers. I think we still are. I
Yeah.
think we still are.
I love that.
We
Yeah.
all stay
Yeah.
together. We're all family, and family is everything.
Yeah, and that's what's important is that you're willing to now have those, like how Kayla said, communication heals better than walls. You're able to have those
Hmm.
conversations. And those conversations are not easy to
Yeah.
let
No.
someone, yeah.
Let me tell you, as a parent, I don't care what you have to do. I don't care how you do it, but you have to sit and you have to listen to your child, and you have to let them be angry with you. You have to
Mm,
let them be hurt by you. You have to accept that this is reality. This
mm,
is,
Yeah.
you meant it or not, whether you regret it or not, you've got to listen to it. You've got to take it in and
mm,
accept it so that they can heal. But in the process, you also heal.
mm,
Yeah.
It's hard to say I'm sorry for something you don't really know what you're saying I'm sorry for.
Mm,
And you have to feel it to be truly sorry. And it's
mm,
okay to be sorry. It's okay to have those regrets and wish. I always wish I had done it differently.
mm-hmm.
I didn't mean, when that came out, I didn't mean it the way it came out. And it broke my heart to hear her say that. But how else would it have come out when you think about it?
Yeah.
You know, how else would somebody else have taken that? Even though I really had no idea in my own mind what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just, it's hard. It's very hard, but it is so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Our children and our family and our friends and even strangers we don't know, it's worth it. if you just walk up to them and say, hey, I love you. I love you. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you, but I don't have to, because I love
Yeah.
you just for who you are. And that's
Yeah.
just me. That's part of my personality. I love to love people. I'm like a lap dog.
Mm-hmm. So true.
I love
Oh
that.
my goodness.
You must bring a really great energy to the middle school that you work at, having
I
that love
hope
for
so.
people.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I
all the
really want
things
the
she
kids
brought
to
home.
know. Oh, from the kids. Oh my goodness. I got the sweetest, most beautiful things
Was it just
from
the
the
last
kids
day
at
of
the end of
school?
the year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like last week of school,
Uh-huh.
and it was just beautiful. I mean, it was a pen, but on the
Uh-huh.
pen it said, "You changed my life."
Oh, that's so sweet.
You know,
Yeah.
and I got a little 3x5 card from a girl who just told me how much my love and acceptance of her meant, and I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry,
My
meant to
eyes are
her.
leaking.
We're all crying.
It's just, and that's what I want, is I want everybody to know there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're beautiful. You're amazing right now, like you are. You're beautiful.
I think it's really beautiful to have people like that working in schools, because, like, speaking from my personal perspective, like having teachers that really see you and really accept you. And I can't even imagine what it's like if you're someone who identifies as queer, having someone at school, that an adult at school that sees you and accepts you. It's so healing. And especially
Mm-hmm.
if, like, from my experience, I, like, my parents just worked a lot. They were just busy working too much. And having teachers at school that, like, really saw me and could mirror who I am back to me, like, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have that at school. It was so healing. So yeah, people that work in schools or are teachers, I think it's very underappreciated and undervalued, the kind of impact that you have on society.
Mm-hmm.
And being a mother as well is such a huge, like, undervalued thing in our society. And you also,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. You also, Cheryl, mentioned something about, like, going up to people you don't even know, and, like, you don't need to know them to love them. And that's something, like, that I want to just kind of, like, highlight for people listening, especially with, like, what's happening right now with rights for trans people, is like, yes, there are so many people in this world where we don't understand their life, we don't understand their identity, but we don't have to understand them to love them.
Right. It's
They're
not about
humans.
understanding them.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's not our business.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not our business. Our business is to love them,
Yeah.
just to
And
see them.
they are a human. They are a life. They are a beating heart. They have a belly like you. They have two eyes like you. That all these things, like, they are a life form. So they are worthy of
Mm-hmm.
love and respect just for that. And that's something I wish that people could understand more.
Absolutely.
Me
This is an
too.
emotional episode.
It is.
I
It
love
is.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to add anything, Kayla, before I ask the next question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the next question is, what makes you feel the most grounded?
I'll answer. Getting outside in nature every day, and I make it a priority that both my son and I spend time outside every day. Um, it's it's the earth, connecting with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest. Kayla really helps me be grounded. She's my grounder. She just is. Um, if she sees I'm upset or stressed or anxious or whatever, she's like, all right, let's get into the grass. Let's go barefoot. Let's go get in the grass. Let's touch the earth. Let's meditate. What
Mm-hmm.
do you need? Let's just sit and hug each other for a while. She is my
Oh,
grounder.
I love that.
She brings me back so beautifully. She's, like I said, she's beautiful. She's so sweet.
The healer of the family.
Definitely.
I could definitely see you, Kayla, by the way, being like some sort of spiritual healer in the future.
Oh my God,
Mm.
I feel like you'd be
yes.
really good at that.
She would be. She really
Yeah.
would be.
Yeah.
That's a huge compliment. Thanks.
Even your son is such a little healer. Like you texted
Oh my
me.
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
Yeah. She
Yes,
texted
he
me
is.
that you had a headache, Cheryl. I think it was a headache or a migraine. And that her son was like, "Oh, let me bring the sound bowl to her. Nana needs it."
Mhm. Yeah.
And he wanted to make sure I had that sound bowl.
That's so
It
cute.
was so precious.
Okay, so the next question is, what is your favorite part about being a woman?
Okay, I'm going to take this one this time.
Okay.
Um, Growing up, being female was something not to be celebrated. It was not a positive thing for me. It didn't bring anything good. It only brought bad things,
Mm-hmm.
In a very real way, women were like third class citizens. We didn't matter. We just didn't matter. We were to be used and abused in whichever way somebody else felt was appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I absolutely love being a woman. I love it. Pink is my happy color. It's my power color. I love pink. I love dressing up and just being part of a group that is becoming strong and powerful and beautiful and amazing. People are starting to recognize that women are freaking amazing people.
Yeah, there really has been a different shift in that as of lately. I mean, it's been happening for a long time, but I feel like there's been some sort of like little leap in that movement as of recently. I think probably because we had a certain woman hater as our president. We kind of like came out with force. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got the matchbook out. Light it on fire.
Yeah, right?
Right?
We're like, enough is enough.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Kayla? What's your favorite part about being a woman?
Um, I would say syncing with the moon cycle. So part of part of um, being a woman or having a menstrual cycle or whatever that means for you um, is that we run on this 28-day cycle that follows the moon cycle, and we can connect um, directly to nature. In that
Mhm.
way, we can take care of ourselves when we need to rest. We can take care of ourselves when we're ovulating and ready to meet people and engage. And um, I love this cycle, this cyclical aspect of being a woman.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that too. And that's been for a lot of us, it's such a hard healing journey to come to because
Hmm.
at least when I first got my period, it was something to like hide and like don't let the boys know and like hide your tampon in your sleeve. And it was it was
Hmm.
something that was like to complain about, that your body felt really bad and you're just like, oh, dreading that it's going to come, and then to come to a place where you see that as like sacred and beautiful is so healing.
Yes, it was such an awakening for me to learn that like what you said about knowing that it's going to hurt and you're going to be in pain, but really what is it? What is that? It's your body telling you what you need. Your body's
Yeah.
saying it's time to rest. It's time to take care
Yeah.
of yourself. It's time to nurture yourself. And I also have a chronic illness. And so learning the past couple of years through my diagnosis that just listening to the body when the body is saying, hey, this is what you need, that right there is sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We can make a whole podcast
instead
on
of
that topic.
Oh yeah.
yes, instead of focusing on it's so painful, switch instead of that it's so painful, it's what is my body telling me I need right now?
I have one more question. It'll be a separate question for Kayla and then a separate question for you, Cheryl.
Okay.
Just grab some water because my throat's a little dry. Okay.
Hydrate break.
Hydration break. I think I'll ask Cheryl first. So Cheryl, I would love to know, what's your favorite part about having a daughter who identifies as queer?
Oh,
My favorite part, the fact that she has accepted herself for who she is. I think it's beautiful. It doesn't matter to me who she's with or who she identifies with or as long as she's happy and as long as the other person is good to her and loving to her. I love that she has such a heart for other LGBTQ members or other people. She really does. Through all the stuff that she went through, she's developed such a love and a generosity.
Mhm.
And that just, I love it. I love her sweetness.
I love that.
But
thank you.
she also fights for, rights and things like that. It isn't just, yeah, I love you, I accept you. It's no, let me go out and let's go to war. Let's do this. Let's show
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that we're important.
Yeah. There definitely is
That's
a
amazing.
fieriness. I've
Mhm.
sensed that too. And I've learned about some things going on that I didn't even know about from Kayla sharing it with me through our calls that we've had. Yeah. So she definitely is a fighter. She's a warrior.
Mhm. She is.
I love it.
I'm proud of that, y'all. I'm proud.
You should be, baby.
So do you think like having a daughter who like doesn't follow those societal norms directly like affected your own healing journey and accepting yourself? Because you mentioned that your favorite part is that she fully accepts herself. And you mentioned earlier, like we talked about how like religion can make it hard to have that self-acceptance, and that for you, self-love is self-acceptance. That was kind of a
Yes, I
long-winded
definitely.
question.
It's definitely helped heal me. She's kind of like my rock, you know. Um, Seeing her be so strong and courageous and accepting of me as well. She accepts me for who I am.
Hmm.
Just I don't think I would have been able to get there without her. I really don't. I needed her. She's my beautiful angel.
I love that. I've heard a lot about how when you have a child, how they are huge teachers. And I'm really hearing
True.
that and sensing that. And I'm seeing Kayla shaking her head.
It's very
Or
true.
nodding her head. Shaking means no. Yeah, I'm seeing Kayla nodding her head. You're both like, yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's beautiful that she was able to propel that journey forward for you in your self-acceptance. I love that. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then there's kind of the same question, but adjusted for Kayla is, what's your favorite part about being queer?
My favorite part about being queer is um, it would be the values. The values. Love is love. Love is
Mm,
stronger than hate. Love is so much stronger than hate. And uniqueness is beautiful. Like people are so cool. Like
Mhm.
we're all so unique. We all have so many different talents, and um, we all have so much magic to give to bring to this earth. We all have so much to share, and so I think that basically I'm saying my favorite part about being queer is um, the magnitude of the community.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the community extends to like your mom and like the loved ones and all the supporters. I love that.
Yeah, the allies.
The allies, yeah. So is there anything like before we close out, um, is there anything, any like closing message or anything that you would want to give to someone? I'll ask you both like kind of a separate question. So for Kayla, like anyone who's having a hard time struggling either with coming out to themselves or coming out to a parent and it not, being accepted in the way that they expected or anything like that of like, yeah, what words of wisdom or encouragement would you like to give to them?
If you're feeling ready to come out, listeners, if you're feeling ready to come out or you want to come out to someone, find a trusted, safe person first.
Hmm.
Um, let them show you that you're loved. Um, we have a lot of what we call rainbow capitalism now, but all these companies showing their support with rainbow logos for this Pride Month. Um, but let that show you that we're here, we love you, and um, you're perfect the way you are. And when you come out to your family member, if it's not a safe situation, I hope you find someone you can trust and know that it gets better. It does.
Mm-hmm.
And you're loved. And if you need to, you can message me on Instagram. Um, I'm a safe person, and I think that you're amazing for who you are.
Kayla's Instagram will be in the show notes / caption wherever you're watching or listening.
Thank you.
And yeah, you're welcome. And then Cheryl, I would love to know like what kind of words do you have for parents who are maybe like having a hard time accepting having a child who's not who came out and you're like maybe didn't have a great reaction to it or are having a hard time accepting it?
Most important thing about being a parent is having unconditional love for your children.
Mm,
That's the most important thing in being a person,
Mm,
just being a person, just to have that unconditional love. What that means is that you don't have to uh, you don't have to understand where they're coming from. You don't have to find a solution because there's not a problem.
mm,
There isn't an issue to be resolved. The
that's good.
only issue that needs to be resolved is, do you love your child enough to love them unconditionally and
mm,
accept them for who they are? Sometimes you have to hear hard things from your child because they were hurt. But when you get hurt from somebody else, you want to let them know, hey, that hurt me. This is how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah.
You have to accept that. You have to take it in. You have to listen. You
Mm-hmm.
have to understand that whether you like it or not, this is what you did.
mm,
Yeah.
If the child says, you hurt me, you have to accept, I hurt you. You can't say, well, but I didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. That's not what matters. What matters is you hurt your child. Love your child. Love your child unconditionally. Love anybody that way. Because that's what humanity really is, in my opinion. Take the hard stuff, roll with it. Who cares? What's more important? Having a relationship with your daughter or not,
Yeah.
or having a strained relationship. I would much rather have an open, loving relationship with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I really would. I would rather have that with people in general. Just
Yeah.
open and honest.
Mm-hmm. And like you said earlier, that difficulty of like, and that hard work to get there to that open relationship is worth it.
It is very worth it. Trust me. Trust me. We were at a point where we weren't talking. I hardly ever got to see her. I would cry myself to sleep so many nights because I missed her and I loved her and I was worried, not really knowing what I had done.
Mm. Yeah.
So it was important for me to hear that. It was
Yeah.
important that I find out what I had done so that I can fix it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
And that was fixing me, not fixing her.
yes. Oh, I love that. Say that again for the people in the back.
I needed to fix me. I needed to fix the things that I had done wrong. I didn't have to fix Kayla because there was nothing wrong with her.
I love
She's
that
beautiful.
so much.
Oh.
And I want everybody to know that. I wish that I could just give all those people who don't have that, I wish I could just hug them and hold them and be that love for them. I really do.
Yeah.
Because they deserve it. They really do.
Yeah. They need it the most too. Oh, I'm really glad that you both have gotten to this point with everything that you've gone through. I think it's so beautiful, and it's so great also for your son, Kayla, that he gets to have, I saw your mug that says world's best Nana or something. He gets to have the world's best Nana in his life.
That's my favorite mug.
And I'd love to know, Kayla, before we stop our recording, two things. I want to give you space to talk about like your work and where people can find you. But before that, I also would love to give you space to maybe share some resources that I can put in the captions, like maybe some websites you want me to put in the captions or anything like that that can help people who are having a hard time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the Trevor Project is a organization that they have text, they have call, and you can go on their website. But they are a helpline. So if you're in a crisis, they're an LGBTQ crisis line. If you're on their website, they have a triple tap that it'll automatically close out their site if someone is coming that's not safe.
Mhm.
So they're there to help you and support you. GLAAD, GLAAD. They have a spirit day every year in October. We're standing up against bullying. And you can always find your local PFLAG. It's parents and families of LGBTQ community. They have many chapters all around the country. And I hope that you know that you're loved, and there's sources out there. If you need anything, message my Instagram. Like we said, we'll put that in the caption. It's actually inspire and be inspired, because it's important that, and I'm just transitioning into my my work here.
I love it.
We I believe that we all inspire one another, and we can all be inspired by one another. So you can find me on Instagram at Inspire and Be Inspired. And I do virtual assistant work for spiritually aligned entrepreneurs. I create social media posts. I do your social media engagement. I love working with podcasts. I'm a booking agent and I work with social media and video for podcasts. Really enjoy it. Um, I love letting the creativity flow. So if you need help with any of that, just let me know.
Yay. Yeah. Thank you
Thank
both so
you.
much for being here. And for anyone listening, all of the links are in the show notes. I'd never heard of the P flag before, so that's really cool. I'm going to look that up. This is so beautiful. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Openly Spoken. I know that there's an abundance of content online, so I really appreciate you giving me your ears today. If this episode shifted something for you, please share this with a friend and/or write us a podcast review if you're listening to this on iTunes so that more people can find this. If anything shifted for you from this episode that you want to have a conversation about, I would love to hear from you. Just send me a DM over on Instagram at selfexpressbabe, and that is in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.